Hello, you are listening to the Tarig Motorsports Show. This is a podcast all about everything motorsports, the biggest genres, the amateur genres as well, and the amateur disciplines. Now, this is, motorsports from my perspective, Tarig Wardren, also known as the Big Ticket. I do kind of call myself that from time to time. I don't think anybody has called me that yet, but whatever, that's not the point. Welcome to the show. Today's episode is really going to cover, the Bahrain GP, the Sakhir GP coming up. It's going to cover, the WRC, IMSA. I'm doing a Moto GP recap of the year, and then going to dive into some, one of my friends, he's actually made an entry for a Battle of the Builders coming up next year with the SEMA Roadshow. He's also done some other stuff as well, trying to, start a business in the customs line, and also be talking about the Autobacs Super GT. Their final round in Fuji that just occurred, and really give my take on that as well as the season, I guess. And lastly, video games, whether people like to admit it or not, esports and video games in general are a part of motorsports and are a part of the racing lifestyle. So obviously there's going to be sim racing, arcade racing, whatever, but they're still a part of motorsports in my personal opinion, simply because I'm a part of the younger generation. So obviously it's going to be a part of motorsports to me, because that's where a lot of people started out before they even got into their first kart or before they even got into their first car. All right. Now, I do have a lot of notes. Are they on the computer? Because the computer's actually right here in front of me right here. So, no, it's not on there. I didn't type it up at all. I'm old school. I'm old school, as they like to say, pen and paper. All right, if you don't know, I pulled up, head over to youtube.com/Tarig Wardren. There should be a link or something down there in the bottom, in the description of not only the audio version, wherever you're listening to them, available on all platforms. So go ahead and rate the show 5 stars, and share with your peoples if you truly enjoy it, and also there's also I'm on YouTube. Okay, this is a video. There's a video for this podcast. That's one of the number one things that I keep doing. Podcast episodes come out every Tuesday. Videos come out every Tuesday along with that. Starting up, like I said, I'm going to be talking about Moto GP. All right. Well, basically, I'm not talking in order. Okay. I'm not talking in order. I'm basically just talking about the things that really come up first. But starting off with Moto GP, this year has seen so many new regulations and has seen, event changes, and a recap is necessary. And I mean, yeah, other teams have done recaps and whatnot, but I decided to do my own personal recap of MotoGP. Starting off, COVID. Honestly, COVID-19 has truly affected a lot of motorsport races and industry, everything really. All the world, the world championships and all that stuff has been tied down to Europe, and MotoGP was one of those things. All their flyaway events were canceled, and of course they even suffered a delayed start as well. So that's kind of, that goes into all the things that go on with MotoGP. They really did suffer a delayed start rather than starting in, I believe, April when it would have actually started. They actually started in June, not June, July. They started in July, the first round in Jerez. COVID has truly affected a lot of things. I mean, the small businesses have gone out of business, have gone out of business really, and MotoGP is not really a small business, but they had to adjust and play defense kind of. They had to be proactive with it and come up with something that would be appeasing and, to not only their people, to their fans, but also something that would make sure that everyone stays relatively safe. Valentino Rossi ended up getting and tested positive for COVID-19, which, he's the GOAT, so he's perfectly fine. He ended up getting 2 negative tests and was able to come back after missing 2 rounds. I believe Valencia and Tervel, the Tervel rounds, he missed those 2 and ended up coming back for whatever race he ended up coming back for. But he only missed 2 weeks, 2 rounds of racing, and was able to come back on the 3rd one. He wasn't the first rider that came back positive. There were some people in Moto 2 that also had issues. I'm not really covering Moto 2, although Moto 2 and Moto 3 are a part of Moto GP. I normally just stick with the top tier class. If I do a specific video or something like that on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Tarig, I mentioned before, you can head on over there. There's plenty of videos, there's my podcast episodes as well as specific clips if you just want to hear specific things. And then there's also, gaming stuff that's going to be on there, as well as some motor vlogging stuff once springtime comes back around, because it's cold. I live up north. I don't have a year-round riding season, and I mean, there was a problem. There was an issue with my motorcycle, so I'll end up fixing all that stuff and getting all that stuff ready to go. But all in all, I'm good. I'm chilling. COVID-19 really changed up the season. Changed up the schedule. Canceled all the flyaway events. I really would have wished that they came into the Americas, but they did not. Okay, cool. So I watch everything on TV or wherever I watch it. I got my sources. Don't worry about it. But yeah, another one, I'm sorry. See, I got my notes right in front of me, but I don't tend to look down. I mean, I look down a lot, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I need to look down. Valentino Rossi had missed Aragon in the Tervel rounds, not Valencia. I think he came back for for the Valencia round. But another Moto GP, the premier class rider, was Iker Lecuona. I don't know. I'm not their parents. I'm not their father. I really struggle with European names. Unless they've told me, unless I've heard it repeatedly, I'm not gonna remember it. But he was forced to miss the Valencia and the final Portimao Portuguese round because he also tested positive, and I believe his brother and his mother had tested positive. He tested positive, and a member of his team tested positive. Now, I really want to kind of dive into the COVID stuff with Moto GP, because some of these guys, I understand the concept that everyone wants to see their family. I'm not gonna stand here and say, yo, you're not allowed to see your family and nothing like that. But you gotta kind of understand that I guess some guys, they don't care. Obviously, some people I'd rather risk seeing my family and get the opportunity to spend time with them than really care about a trophy, or But if that's really where you're headed, if you care about the trophy, you'll take the necessary precautions at least. Some of these guys did not take the necessary precautions, flying away to go see family. Don't get me wrong, I would have done the same thing, but not really what you should have done, I should say. But all in all, you're being advertised and represented of following, the rules and doing everything, and your everyday move is watched and whatnot. So you can't hide it, nothing like that. But it's definitely something that a lot of people need to understand. I'm watching NFL now, and so many teams are being, these teams are being penalized. They're being because guys are being, in my personal opinion, stupid. Got NFL coaches now wearing masks and stuff like that, talking directly to the quarterback and all. I mean, I guess, they have to get negative results and whatnot and all that stuff in order to even be on the field and everything, but come on, it still shouldn't be the case. Fucking NBA handled that beautifully. Anyway, going back to MotoGP, the Yamaha controversy at the beginning of the season is definitely something that's worth mentioning, I should say. And here's why. Because Yamaha had did some adjustment to their valves on their engines just before the start of the round in Jerez, the start of the season. And with that, they ended up, basically they won that opening race. The Yamaha factory team had won, and the Petronas SRT Yamaha team had won. Okay, they collected a whole bunch of points, but later on, well, not later on, but it was discovered that there was actually an error, and their engines were not homologated, and they did the adjustments to their valves during the homologation freeze time, which is just basically, you have this much amount of time to get everything verified and get everything actually authenticated by the rule makers and the inspectors and all that stuff before the actual racing and everything. And they made adjustments during a time when they weren't supposed to make adjustments, and or when adjustments and stuff like that wouldn't be verified or anything, and ended up going into the season and going into that first round and getting some victories. But they actually were penalized. They're actually penalized, and they're not fighting it, so obviously they take ownership of that. They ended up missing out on winning the constructors title because Yamaha has been at the top of the game in actually getting consistent points. So they would have won the constructors title, but being that they were penalized because Yamaha as a manufacturer were docked 50 points, and the teams were docked. The Petronas Yamaha team was docked 37 points because that's what they earned with those with the non-homologated engines, and the Yamaha factory team also was docked 20 points because that's what they earned with the non-homologated engines, and or the non-homologated specifications. So they were basically, everything was basically taken care of. Ducati ended up winning the constructors title. KTM actually got their first win as a constructor this year with, I think, Brad Binder. If not Brad Binder, somebody else. I'm sorry. I'm not 100% sure. This is early in the morning, so please bear with me. But yeah, they were docked. They were docked accordingly, and they did not win the constructors title, and they did not win, the actual title altogether. So there's that. Now, like I said, calendars were affected. Okay, rounds were canceled. No Grand Prix in the Americas. It went from, I think, 25 rounds down to 14 rounds, and I mean they started late, so they kind of had to cut rounds anyway. And venues that were supposed to return this year actually didn't. There was like one in like Sweden or something like that was supposed to come back that did not, and they weren't going to bring back. And that season, that track and that venue hadn't been back since like 1986 or something like that, since the 1980s or the 1970s, and they wanted to bring it back, and because of COVID, that was all basically denied and revoked. Now, season summary: Marc Marquez was supposed to be coming back to defend for a fifth consecutive title. He had won 4 years straight prior, and he was coming back to get a fifth one. Honestly, in my honest opinion, because nobody seemed to be able to beat him, and I don't think that anyone was going to beat him again this season. But opening round, he suffered a major injury to his arm. He basically broke his arm, and he was able to. He tried to come back the next season, but that was aborted basically because he just couldn't suffer through the pain, and he ended up just taking off the entirety of the season, which I think is a very smart move. I'd rather you be healthy for the next season, come back strong, and be able to actually compete than do yourself more damage trying to compete this season, and you might end up in another accident, might end up in another crash, and then things end up worse for you. So good props to him, good props to the team, and getting that actually done and making that responsible decision. So definitely props to them. Now, Rossi actually had his worst finish of the season this year. Obviously, he was out for 2 rounds, and he has so many crashes this season. The man had like 4 crashes this season that took him out of the race completely. I mean, I think there might have been some other slides or something like that where he was able to pick up the bike and get back on and go, but for the most part, it just wasn't the correct situation for him. It was definitely a bad season, and this season was supposed to be the season where he proves that he still has some type of competitive nature, which in all honesty, he does, because he was in first, not first, but he was in like 3rd, 4th, 5th position before actually falling out, and these were like early or mid races. He did lose one late race, and I believe he was in like 2nd position, and which was definitely stung, and I'm sure that was a big upset for him. But all in all, he was still able to showcase that he can be competitive if other things like COVID or crashes don't really affect his season. So he is now moving from the Yamaha factory team to the Yamaha Petronas SRT team, and he's going to be running with the young boys, all the people who he basically inspired, and the people who were a part of his Rossi, the V46 Academy, the VR46 Academy, and those guys that came up under him like that. He's basically going to be there, and I'm sure he's going to be a mentor and just giving guys different. I mean, they're already at the tip-top level, but it's him. So obviously, guys are still going to respect the things that he has to say and the pointers that he gives. So obviously, that's basically what we're expecting from him next season. And he just wanted to show that he was still competitive this year, before he signed any contract or whatever. And he did that. Obviously, some crashes and stuff really, kind of hindered him from really being the necessary points competitive and whatnot. But his competitive drive is still there. He's still in pretty good shape and still able to compete to his maximum, not to his maximum potential, but to a pretty substantial amount. Okay. Now this season saw nine different winners. 9 different winners. 8 of them were literally consecutive back-to-back different winners for 8 separate rounds. And Morbidelli, Quartararo, those guys have won multiple races. But other guys have only won one. But you would expect Fabio Quartararo to actually have the victory and all that stuff. He was in second place at the end of the season for the championship standings, but he suffered greatly in wet racing, and he also suffered greatly when he crashed. And not only crashing, he had very good racing at the beginning of the season, and he tried to, I guess, continue that. Obviously, everybody would want him to continue that. That would be the best bet, but after suffering accidents, I think he crashed literally twice in in one of the qualifying rounds, and then he ended up having to come back and try to race in the season. But during the race, he just couldn't manifest any type of competitive nature. And I mean, he did end up crashing a couple times, which ended up taking him out of races, and it's all a part of the game. And he couldn't get the W. If he wasn't in the top 5 or top 4, he was in like 11th or worse, basically. That's the level he was at. If he wasn't in that competitive nature up front, he was in the back losing and not really doing anything great. Now, Johan Mir by mid-November had already confirmed his win. Like, it was already established before the final round. He came up because Fabio did suffer and ended up losing, some races and whatnot, losing positions and whatnot. He was actually, Mir was actually able to confirm that he would be the winner because Fabio was in second place. Now this season before mid-November or at the start of November was basically up for grabs amongst like 4 different riders, which, is definitely competitive. And it was great to see guys actually put it all on the line and try and go out there and get that victory. But Mir ended up coming on top, and, guys didn't execute plans or execute the way that they were supposed to, and they ended up kind of dwindling away in the race and then dwindling away in the point system, and Mir came through and handled business and did what he was supposed to. Alex Rins, actually, he was who I was kind of prospected to win, either him or one of the Yamaha people, the Yamaha boys. Like, I was expecting either Vinales or maybe Morbidelli or something like that to get a victory. This was at the beginning of the season. I think Alex Rins is definitely dangerous. He's definitely dangerous. He deserves to be recognized simply because the man, his race pace alone is something that's definitely a quality that a lot of guys can't seem to grasp. Whether he's in 9th, he'll come back and overtake so many freaking people and move forward and do whatever is necessary to get back in a championship fight. And that's what he actually did, because I think he was in like 5th or 6th position in championship points, and then raced and did everything, did a late kind of season push, and ended up coming in 3rd for the entirety of the championship. So that's a double podium in the championship standings for Suzuki, and it's actually the first time in damn near in exactly 2 decades, since 2000 with Kenny Roberts Jr., that a Suzuki rider had actually won a championship title. And it's like been, I think the last time that a non-Honda or non-Yamaha rider had won the actual championship was, I think, in 2007 when a Ducati rider had came in and won the championship. So Yamaha and Honda have been dominating for basically 2 freaking decades, and Suzuki at the start of the decade in 2001, and at the start of this one, 2020, had won again. So I guess we might be seeing another reign of Hondas and Yamahas. I don't know if history is going to really repeat itself like that. Hopefully Ducati can step up, and KTM. I really want to see KTM succeed and really push forward. Next thing was what's happening for next year, I don't know. I believe a 2021 season had just been provided. A provisional 2021 season had just been provided, but who knows if that's really going to be confirmed. I'll probably let you guys know when it happens, obviously. So stay tuned for the next couple episodes. Stay tuned with me. Moving away from that, though, I don't really know what to expect from the 2029 season. Guys, you need just follow the COVID-19 regulations and make sure that another season will be guaranteed. and stick around for, you know, off-season coverage and coverage when the season starts back up, because I will be all over Moto GP as well as every other aspect of motorsports that I can possibly think of, that I actually watch and that I actually pay attention to, you know? So this is stuff that I'm relatively passionate about. So well, not relatively, I'm definitely passionate about it. It's literally something that I want to go into the future and maybe really create something out of it. And you know, my main goal with this is kind of opening up inclusion for that. Like, if you would go on the if you would go to YouTube on my channel, you'll see that you'll see who I am basically, and you'll understand what I mean by, you know, inclusion and diversity in motorsports. And you know, me myself personally, I've raced a little bit, and aside from that, you know, I went into more like the journalist side, and, you know, trying to find out different things and know different things and the rules and whatnot, and make sure of other racing and other aspects of racing. And, you know, role models in racing popped up and all that stuff when I grew interested in different disciplines, and I was able to actually, you know, kind of expand my knowledge on racing as a whole, and I'm trying to share that with people like me. Simple. Now, like I said, I'm old school, so I wrote my notes down. Don't hate me. It's what I like to do. I write a lot, okay? I write a lot. Actually, shoot, I write blogs that I haven't even published yet. Anyway, the IMSA. The IMSA season has been wrapped up. That is, you know, this is really, it's the end of the year, so it's the end of the seasons coming. It's the end of the seasons, man, and you know, it's tough to see them go, or, you know, you're really amped up for next year. And the IMSA is one of those series that I'm really amped up for. Porsche GT team is out, which kind of sucks, because, you know, this is the year that I actually really watched them. IMSA was never big on my scale, but after this year and after seeing you know, some of their races and seeing some of the series and understanding that they're basically like the WRC, not WRC, the World Endurance Championship. They're basically like WEC, and you know, it's kind of just tied down to the United States, which, you know, in my personal opinion is great. I think they only did that because of the COVID stuff that happened, but for the most part, I still enjoyed it. It's still a great series to watch, and, you know, for anybody, you know, they allow privateer teams and all that stuff to come in as long as you're able to feel the car. Like AOA Racing, I had covered this in one of my previous episodes. It's based out in Atlanta. They were able to participate in a Road America Speedway in Atlanta, the Michelin Road America Speedway, whatever. In Atlanta, and actually able to participate once they fielded the car. So, you know, that opportunity is there in IMSA, and anyone who's, you know, I don't know how to actually get a part of that. I'll probably cover that at some point. But I really want to get into the IMSA network and try and figure out and maybe develop some contacts or something like that. I really want to see how far, because I really got interested in it this year. You know, with this COVID stuff, everybody gets to stay home, relax. Well, not everybody, but, you know, you spend more time streaming stuff and more time, you know, online and whatnot. So from there, it's definitely something I really enjoyed watching. And I think, I mean, I tried to provide my own, you know, style of commentary. I've done commentary over some video game racing and stuff like that. Not the greatest, obviously. I have to build up my skills as I go along, but I do plan on getting better at it, and hopefully, I don't know if I'll be commentating, but hopefully, I don't know. Hey, speak it into existence. I don't necessarily want to commentate, but if that's something I could get to, hey, I got no problem with it. I feel like I should be more in a journalistic aspect, and I really want to develop something with IMSA. Don't know why. That's just, after this year, I'm really tied to it, and I will definitely be advancing more and more into it, and trying to develop as many contacts or whatever as I can, and hopefully go from there. You know, this is going to take a while. Growing this show is going to take a minute, but I mean, you can always help out, you know. Make sure to rate the show 5 stars if you're listening, and like or subscribe. Well, like and subscribe if you're watching. Moving from that, though, you know, oh wait, actually, in the IMSA, there's actually Formula 1 drivers that's going to be coming over, Kevin Magnussen and a couple other names that I do not remember because they were complicated and I didn't feel the need to remember them. But Kevin Magnussen is apparently joining the Ganassi Cadillac racing team, so expect him to be driving a Caddy. Hey, but moving from that, WRC, good news for the WRC fans. And I say that because Sebastien Ogier is not leaving this season. He is not leaving. He will be back 2021. He has signed another contract with Toyota because he doesn't like this season. And honestly, I don't think nobody does, because this season was weird. Events were canceled. Like high level races and stuff were canceled, and you weren't able to participate in them. And you want to kind of have your grasp on what the season is really going to be like for next year. And this year was not the opportunity to actually have that and to actually do that. But going into the next year, hopefully everything will be okay, and he'll actually be able to put down the hammer. I mean, he's still in second place for the championship for the championship. So I mean, that's still pretty damn good to me, but I guess he wants to finish off a champion, so I can't wait for next season to see really how much he's going to put, pedal to the metal and really go out there and compete. That's something that I would really love to see, because I know he's very talented. He's literally he's a legend in WRC, and I can't wait to see him push next season. So hopefully, Seb, we'll see you then. Another thing that's happening in WRC is actually the Rally 3 cars, the Fiesta Rally 3 cars that are now being produced by M Sport. Fiesta Rally 3 is basically trying to be that intermediate level between jumping from a two-wheel drive car to an all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive car, and a different power level and all that stuff. Giving guys the opportunity to handle it, but not with crazy power, like 350 horses and whatnot, more like the 215 range. Then it's also kind of seen as a more affordable option for people, I think they're doing a budget cap up to 100,000 euros for that series for Rally 3, so definitely cost effective for people. M Sport was the Poland director, I forgot his name. His name is Messiej Woda. He has definitely he has expressed that they're just trying to serve an underserved area. Actually, what's the quote? He said, the Fiesta Rally 3 is meant to be a brand new concept serving what has been an underserved area of rallying. Now, my personal opinion, I never really cared for the specific details as to what areas or what things are not being really represented in rallying, aside from, I guess, diversity. But for the most part, I still enjoy watching rally racing, and this was not necessarily a care that I had as a fan, but I'm sure from the aspect of who's actually participating and who's driving, and for guys going from the junior WRC into the full-fledged FIA WRC, is definitely a step. Some guys are willing to go to that hard level right off the bat and figure out and try and tame it. Other guys need that intermediate, that medium difficulty, and be able to learn that and then go into the hard season and understand, with already prior knowledge on how to handle the car and really how to perform and execute efficiently. So testing, has been done with those vehicles with experienced drivers. So hopefully those drivers are able to give them great tips and tricks and all that stuff going into the next couple seasons and going into the next year. And another thing, this stuff should be, the Rally 3 car should be homologated before the start of the next season. So we may be seeing that bracket of Rally 3 really be, actually participate. Basically, it'll actually be a full-fledged system and a full-fledged actual class of racing. That's what I was trying to say. Moving on. I will be talking about the Bahrain GP, but first I gotta talk about my man Lewis Hamilton. That is a role model for me personally, but this season has been relatively very predictable. A lot of fans, feel that way. I feel that way. Don't get me wrong, I love the consistency. I love the fact that he's going at it, but damn, boy, this season has been definitely predictable. He's pretty much been on pole not necessarily on pole position, but in the top 3, top 4 every single race. So that's never been an issue, and then he normally finishes in first. Verstappen is usually there right behind him, or Bottas is right there right behind Verstappen, or in front of Verstappen, or whatever, but it's usually that mix of those 3 guys, Valtteri, Bottas, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. It made this season a little bit stale, so sometimes I was end up watching them, watching battles for 4th and 5th rather than watching for 1st and 2nd, because I already knew what was going to happen up there. But 4th, 5th, 6th, those were some real nice battles. Daniel Ricciardo performed well in those positions. I expect him to keep striving and keep doing great things. Daniel Ricciardo is definitely someone I watch and someone I pay attention to as of late. But Lewis Hamilton is always definitely a role model to me. He's definitely the GOAT. I've established that plenty of times. You can go back and check any video you want. I'm pretty sure I mentioned him and I mentioned his greatness. But I just wanted to talk about, you know, this season has been kind of predictable. He is obviously the voice for change in motorsports. He's like that top voice for change and all that. So respect. That's all I want to say. But this season has been relatively predictable, and I can agree with fans when they say that. And I think Hamilton is sticking around in F1 simply because, you know, he is that voice, and he said he feels like he's just getting started. He's, you know, which don't really understand. He's been here for almost 10 years now, for over 10 years now, and he's, you know, performing at a great high class level. But you know, with things are on the brink in the motorsports industry with, you know, inclusion, diversity, and he's physically and mentally able and mentally, you know, fit to keep going and keep performing and keep executing and everything. So expect to see him next season. I'm not sure if he signed his contract yet. Pretty sure he didn't, but we don't know how many years he's going to stay in there for. The proposed contract was 3 years, but, you know, he might do 1, 2, who knows. But hope to see him next year, most definitely. I just hope that things are a little bit more adventurous. Things are a little bit more exciting, where the battle for first and second is not, you know, something that, that's already been confirmed 6 races ago, you know? Other than that, though, that's really all I had to say. But I can't wait to see what he has in store in all aspects of his capabilities, because he is going to be doing some ownership stuff in an Extreme E, in the Extreme E series. So going from there, you know, Formula One is really making innovations and not only trying to help with emissions and all that stuff, but also, you know, help with, you know, safety and all that. And that's kind of what I want to bring up now with the Bahrain GP, because I guess advancements in safety has definitely saved the life of Romain Grosjean. He did suffer a very, 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 very bad big crash. The car ended up bursting into flames, split in half and burst into flames. Definitely, he's in good spirits. He walked away with some burns. I am not, you know, don't take my word as gold. I am not a F1 or I'm not a doctor or anything of that shape, but from what I've read, he's suffered some burns on his hands, but for the most part, he's able to walk and able to do it. And he's been in good spirits. If you head on over to my Instagram at Tarig Waldron, you'll see that I posted up, you know, something from him, a repost up from his page and whatnot, and he's been in good spirits, chatting it up with people and having conversations and, you know, smiling and stuff like that. So he's all good. The advancements that I kind of wanted to talk about were what's known as the halo. The halo is, you know, there's the level of the car, because originally guys used to be able to see over that front end of that car, but now there's something known as the halo that covers up that next spectrum that kind of just that goes over their heads. It still stays within the aerodynamic field that these guys want and whatnot, but it covers just above their heads, so that for a situation like this, because, you know, if that wasn't there, that he would have been going 200 miles into a barricade, hitting his helmet, basically. The halo helped prevent that, so thank God for these advancements in motorsports racing, and Formula One, you know, being that maximum max speed at all times. Formula One is, and it's not, I don't want to hear no debate, because Formula One is definitely dangerous. You know, me personally, Isle of Man is still the most dangerous race known in the world, but Formula One is definitely dangerous. All forms of motorsports are dangerous. I don't care what they're talking. All forms of motorsports is dangerous, and you know, he's alive. So thank God. That's all I really have to say. Thank God for that, and thank God for these, you know, advancements in safety, and thank God that he's in good spirits. Thank God he's you know, it's it's good to see him smile. It's good to see him in good spirits, and good to see him up. And I mean, he's not really moving around. He's still within the hospital bed and whatnot, but it's good to see that he's sitting up and really conversing and everything like that, which is great. I mean, in the video, his shoe was gone. Like, one of his racing boots were gone. And he was, you know, just climbing up and climbing out. You know, those suits that they wear, yes, they help with, you know, they're known for being fire retardant suits, but excuse me, sorry, but those only last for so long. You know, suits were really kind of, you know, made and adapted to be 15, 20 seconds or something like that before you really start feeling the effects of the burning and whatnot. So his gloves were about the only thing burned, and gloves are really meant to protect you for like 10, 15 seconds, while the suit protects you for like 15, 20 to 30 seconds before you actually start feeling any, you know, actual burn. So that's why, you know, he walked away with a couple burns on his hands. And by all means, I hope he feels better. I hope he feels good. And I hope he heals up real soon. Somebody's supposed to be replacing him. Pietri Fittipaldi. I hope I got it right. He's in for RG for the Sakhir GP, and that's also something else I want to talk about. Breaking news, because I am recording this. I'm recording this episode late. Basically, I was supposed to record on Sunday. I am recording on a Tuesday that this episode is supposed to be uploaded. So Hamilton has tested positive for COVID. He's still who he is, so he's relatively in good spirits. He's fine. But that's all I really had to say. Pietri Fittipaldi is replacing Romain Grosjean, and Hamilton is going to be out for the Sakhir GP. I mean, he's still confirmed the champion. It don't really matter who wins. But we might see kind of what the season would be like without Hamilton there. Get me? Well, we might see some crazy whoever wins. I'll be talking about it, so, you know, stay tuned, and I'll bring it up, you know, next week after the race actually happens and whatnot. Now, it was heartbreak for Sergio Perez, and actually, before I get to that, I want to talk about the qualifying, because in the qualifying, it was a mechanical issue for Carlos Sainz. Okay, he spun out his rear tire. I think his left rear tire had really locked up on him. Like literally out of the blue, there was literally like no reason for it to lock up like that at all. It just locked up out of the blue. He was handling the corner very well, but it just locked up, and he ended up spinning out. Technical difficulties. They had to do a session stop to figure out what the hell was going on. He had no drive, and trying to figure out what was going on, and, you know, the car wasn't moving, and he was just sitting there kind of stranded, basically. Next, Alex Albon had a big crash in free practice too. He walked away perfectly fine. He said it was good. He lost some traction going into one of the turns, or at least I believe he swung wide, then lost traction, and then tried to catch it, bringing it back one way, but then the car caught traction and sent him the other way, and lost that traction. And he tried to fight it and tried to catch it, but ultimately did not work, and he ended up hitting a wall or hitting a barricade or something like that, and spun out. Car was definitely totaled, and you know, he was able to get out and walk away perfectly fine. And another thing was, no, that's it. That's all I really had to say. But those guys are perfectly fine. In the actual race though, Lewis Hamilton got the victory. Max Verstappen came in second. Now, when I said heartbreak for Chico, heartbreak for Sergio Perez, I really meant that, because, you know, he was doing substantially well in the race, and he had a good drive the entirety of the race. Alex Albon was in fourth. Sergio Perez was in third, and he was holding on to it. And this was late race, but I don't know what happened. Technical difficulties is all I really have to say. And he ended up, his car was basically on fire, and he had to pull off, and they had to bring a fire extinguisher to it. But man, oh man, that sucked to see, because it was definitely heartbreaking, you know, him having such a good drive and doing so well in the race, just to end up going out because of something that was beyond his control is definitely disheartening. Definitely disheartening to actually see, and man. But Alex Albon inherited that third place position and walked away with third place. Red Bull with a double podium in Bahrain. That's all I really got to say for that. But thank God RG is okay, and I'm happy to see that he's in good spirits, so props to him. If you want to see like updates on the motorsports world and updates on, you know, not only my show as well, but updates on, you know, motorsports and all that stuff, definitely follow me on my Twitter at TheBigTicket07 and follow me on Instagram at Tarig, because that's where I post a lot of stuff, not only about the show, but also about, you know, motorsports world, whether that be WRC, Formula One, WEC, IMSA, whatever. I post stuff basically every damn day, at least now anyway. Before, you know, this is where I'm really trying to get into that bag of being that journalist who I know I am, and getting that stuff out and, you know, really doing what I need to do in terms of, you know, filling in that role basically that I'm trying to fill in. Now I wanted to talk about one of my peoples, one of my partners. His name is Matthew Tracy. He did do his entry for Battle of the Builders. If you want to see the video, you can head on over to my YouTube channel. It literally is titled Matthew Tracy SEMA entry or something like that. I don't remember the title, but if you want to just look up like Matthew Tracy SEMA or something like that, SEMA, that's for the SEMA Roadshow, you could definitely do that. I'm pretty sure they have it up on their channel as well. I'm almost certain, I'm 1000% certain they have it up on their channel as well, so that you should find it on there as well as mine. But you know, he's from Jersey, so if anyone is, if anyone from the Jersey world is listening, or from the Jersey area is listening, yo, support the local New Jersey in their journey. Basically, you know, he's trying to use this as a stepping stone for his own customs career, his own customs business. You know, this is his own vehicle, so obviously it's going to take some time. He doesn't have, you know, maybe all the things that he needs. He doesn't have a team behind him. He literally single-handedly put this car together, fabricated new pieces, fabricated custom pieces to fit the car and everything like that. And you know, it's a work in progress, but boy, he's doing it basically. All right, he's handling it, and you know, it's impressive. It's impressive, and I believe he plans on putting on a turbocharger and all that stuff, getting about 700 horsepower out of the engine. You know, engine swapped and all that stuff. All, I guess, with him and I guess his father worked on it together. But you know, for the majority of it, basically by himself. And I'm glad to see the results. I'm glad to see that, you know, the Battle of the Builders people really came out, gave him an interview, all that stuff, and you know, definitely support. I'll actually probably put that up on my Instagram too, so head on over there if you want to watch it there. But like I said, I think you should definitely head on over to either the Battle of the Builders stuff, or you can head on over to my YouTube channel. You'll find it there. He doesn't really promote his own shit, not honestly, but I'll definitely do it for him and get his name out there, hopefully get him more votes and whatnot, or maybe get some more people to go out to the actual event. I'm not 100% sure where it's going, but you know, at the end of the video, you can, there's some information up about where you can go to find out more information and stuff like that. So Matt, I hope you do well, and I mean, I will probably end up being at that actual event. If it doesn't, I will be at that event. Basically, I will be at that event, and hopefully I can help you get, you know, in conversations with people, and you know, maybe other people would want, you know, some custom stuff built. And to anybody in New Jersey who needs, you know, custom fabricated pieces and whatnot, give him a shout on his Instagram. Jesus, he has so many he has a couple underscores. I never understood the concept of that. But if you're on the YouTube version, you can just head on down to the link in the description. It'll be there. Or you can head on over to the video for his Battle of the Builders entry. It'll also be there. Or if you won't, yeah, you can just head on over there. Head on over to my Instagram. He'll be tagged and whatnot and all that stuff. So head on over to my Instagram. The video will be out by the time this video will be out. Everything will be uploaded. Whatever. You know, it just there's avenues you could take. Instagram, YouTube. You can head there. All right. Head to my Instagram, head to YouTube. You'll find his name somewhere. If you really want to support it, if you want to get in contact with him about some custom stuff, by all means, go ahead. And hey, hopefully that brings him business, and hopefully that gives him the start that he needs. I was supposed to have an interview with him. Through my own stupidity and through my own technical difficulties, that interview will not be uploaded. Was it a great interview? Yes. I wish I did not mess up, but I did. I'm glad that it was with a friend though, because you know, he understood completely. He's like, all right, bro, I'm not really stressing out. I was like, all right, bet. And you know, I just upload this video and then talk about it. I'll probably end up trying to do another interview at some point in time with him when he actually has the time to do it. But really upset with myself on that one. So Matt, I apologize. Moving on. The Autobacs Super GT, the final round in Fuji. Oh my goodness, that was definitely an exciting race to watch, because I always said that the Super GT is one of the most exciting races in the world, and I still stand behind that. I still stand on that. The reason I say that is the season was really split 6 different ways. Whoever won that final round was going to get that championship victory amongst 6 different winners. It's not like Formula One, where the winner was basically confirmed 6 weeks ago or whatnot. But it's definitely exciting. Everything is down to that final race, and they have this handicap system that really keeps it, exciting. One thing I do have to say though, in the final race, they do take away all the handicaps, so it's full attack amongst everyone. It's just drive, just race, and just do what you need to do. No handicaps, no way down issues, none of that. Everybody's just going out there doing full max. I think in the first race and the last race, that's how they work things out. Now, them NSX, them NSX, the Rayburg NSXs or whatever, those things dangerous. Dangerous. Them things, like, they really do perform unlike anything I've ever seen, and the only experience I've had with it was in like some sim racing stuff, and even in that you could tell, oh my goodness, even in that you could tell the superiority of those Rayburg NSXs, and that's just my 2 cents on those. Going into the actual race, Fuji was actually surprisingly cold that day. I think Bridgestone tires was at the top of the list for the most successful tire of the season. They were amongst the top winners or the top runners, or the top drivers. The top cars had Bridgestone tires, basically. Obviously, there's some of them that had Yokohama and all that stuff. So, but I think Bridgestone was the championship tire manufacturer. Now on Fuji, I love Fuji. That is one of my favorite racetracks of all time. My experience with it is really just tied down to video games. I've never been, and I've watched it on TV as well, and watched it in these events and whatnot, but I've never actually been there or driven on there. Now, my experience goes back to sim racing and video games and actually watching on TV, but there's tons of overtaking points. You can analyze the track all you want. That's never, you don't have to be there to analyze the track, but it's definitely a ton of overtaking points, and there was a ton of Toyotas. Toyota Supra specifically. Fuji is basically the home of the backlot of Toyota. That's really, so those guys are really going at it. They were really trying to do whatever they needed and really perform and execute, and they were so competitive amongst the Toyota Supras. These guys, there was like 3 in line going from one corner to the next, trying to wrap around the next person, and it was a maneuver that you don't see in F1, you don't see in F2, you don't see in well, you might actually see that in IMSA. Yeah, that was in IMSA a couple times. Well, not 3 cars, but definitely a whole lot of really competitive and ambitious battling throughout the entirety of the race. That's in IMSA, but having 3 cars going around those tight corners like that, really trying to outdo the other, oh man. It was an incredible sight to see. I recommend anyone and everyone go check out Super GT. But there was this Nismo GTR that was on an entirely another level for the beginning of the race, and he was really pulling away. I'm not sure what the hell happened, but as the race continued, he just kept dialing back, and then the Supra was able to come back and basically take that lead and go. I think a Supra and a Rayburg. I think that was in the 500 class. No, I think that was in the 300 class. But he was really pushing and doing what he had to do. But as the race went on, something changed. Not sure what, but something changed. Now, a big issue was fuel management. I say this because that ends up becoming very imperative at the end of the race. Obviously, because guys, you start running out of fuel towards the end of the race, unless you went into pit and whatnot. But I think they only pit like maybe once or twice throughout the entirety of the race. It was like 65 laps or something like that. But my point still stands really, because fuel management was definitely a big issue. Fuel management is the result of celebration and heartbreak. I say this because at the end, in the final turn, guys were really going at it, really fighting and really pushing. And in the GT500 class, there was a Supra. It's not driven by a Rio something, but it's called the Keeper Supra, like Keeper Supra. And it ran like you could clearly see that something was going on because he kept slowing down. This was in the last final 2 laps, and he was slowing down, and I didn't know what the hell it was about. And then at that literally at the final turn, he sputters, and he runs out of gas, and he had a 5-second lead on top of the Rayberg NSX behind him in second place, who was also suffering from fuel management issues because right after he crossed the line, he also ran out of gas. So those guys were putting it all on the line. They did not care. I mean, obviously they probably did, and they were trying to figure out fuel management systems. I think that Rayberg NSX had just accepted second, but seeing that, oh my God, and the heartbreak, the disappointment, the discouragement when he got out of the vehicle, when the Keeper Supra got out of the vehicle, you know, it took him a minute to get out of there. It took him a minute, and then he just sat next to a barricade and just broken down, disappointed. You could see it from the body language as he got out. It was definitely disheartening to see, and I mean it does something to the mental, because I think he has a race literally a week later. He has a race coming up next week in a different championship or in a different series or whatever, and it does something to you. It does something to you, and you know, keep your head up, hold your head up. That's really all you got to say. Hold your head up, and well, we know that was a victory for you, basically. I mean, I thought I would have probably maybe seen like some cars, when Lightning McQueen had stopped and helped the other guy, you know, across the finish line and whatnot. But this is real world competitiveness, guys. You're out. What the hell? Wow, you're stopped. Okay, go around. Victory for me. And you know, he was cheering and all that stuff, but man, that wasn't your victory. But what are their names? Kyoto Fuji? No. Naoki Yamamoto and geez, I'm sorry, I don't know these names. Tadasuki Makino, you know, that wasn't their victory. I'm gonna just say that right there, and I don't know how to say this guy's names, but it started with R-I-Y-O, so Rio. But the GT500 winners were Naoki Yamamoto and Tadasuki Makino with Team Konomitsu in the Rayberg NSX. Now, in the GT300 category was Kyoto Fujinami and JP de Oliveira, or Yao Paulo de Oliveira, with Condor Racing GTR. He was in a Nissan GTR. The interview was a little weird between JP Oliveira, and you know, because he didn't seem as excited as he should be, in my personal opinion. For someone who just finished winning a championship, he didn't seem excited. You know, he seemed very after like the initial embrace of his teammate, you know, after that he was just talking and everything. And I mean, they were wearing masks. I'm pretty sure his teammate was smiling, but I couldn't tell if he was, you know, smiling or anything like that. But he didn't seem as excited as I would have expected a champion to be. But I don't know. Maybe that's just how he is. Who knows? Jumping to racing game news. New hardware means improvement in current games like Assetto Corsa and WRC9, and players who have that, you know, you're able to actually participate, or you get the upgrades for free, basically, when you actually transfer to PS5 and all that stuff. Dirt 5 is more arcade than sim racing, but it was still well received. iRacing is still at the top of the top, in my personal opinion. So people on console, their hardware is definitely just improvement on graphics, and in some cases for WRC9, the mechanics of the game at times. Project Cars 3 can kiss my ass. It wasn't worth it. I don't care who you are. If you say that it was worth it, you're just an arcade racer. You don't really know nothing about sim racing. Project Cars has been a sim racing, you know, staple for people on console, but I don't know what they were thinking of Project Cars 3. I guess they were trying to appeal to a newer fan base, but it didn't really work out that way. Sim racers, then you got no need to worry. You're getting the upgrades necessary if you're on console, and if you've been on PC, then you're fine. You never had to worry. Now, what's to come for next week? I don't really know. I'm not 100% certain, you know. Well, actually, I kind of do. There's going to be esports coverage next week, because next week, you know, there's championships and stuff like that have been, you know, decided who's the winner and all that stuff. So I'll be covering esports next week, as well as covering the Secure GP and giving you updates on the motorsports world, whatever happens. Oh, and also Monza, the Monza rally that's coming up. I will be doing coverage on that, as well as Sebastien Ogier and all that stuff. So stay tuned for the next episode. You know, and hopefully no technical difficulties, and I'm able to actually have an interview, you know, ready for you guys and coming up. And lastly, to any Michigander, there is a Detroit SCCA Rallycross meet that's coming up on December 6th. I'm pretty sure you have to be a participator in order to go there because of the COVID stuff and the COVID regulations, so never mind. But just know that, you know, those series are there. You know, you can head on over to Facebook, to the Facebook group, and chat it up with some people, figure out what's going on. I don't know everything, so, you know, just figure out what's really happening and go from there. That's all I really had to say. Peace, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week. This has been the Tarig Motorsports Show. Normally I'm way louder and way more excited, but I'm recording this literally the day of. I have stuff to do, so I'm sorry. But you can go back to my other episodes and you'll see the joy and the high pitchiness, I guess. And next week I'll be back strong and ready to go. So peace out, have a wonderful day, wonderful week, whatever. And remember to have fun, man. Remember to have fun. Yeah, this COVID stuff is kind of hampering that right now, but remember to have some fun. And remember to go out there and really celebrate your life. Peace.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to check out any more of my content, head down to the description box down below. And remember, you only have one life. Go out there and enjoy it.